Hello and welcome to this episode of Tripology. It's the only backpacking show where the hosts actually can be asked to go travelling all the time. We're here, as evidenced by our backdrops, our respective backdrops. Crazy, if anything. Gallivanting around, I'm Alun, and I'm here with the ever-terrified Adam.
Alan, it's been a couple of months since we recorded, mate. We're rusty, but we are slightly more well-travelled than the last time we spoke.
Last time we spoke, you were physically in front of me. I could tell because if I outstretched my hand, it would meet raw skin and bone in the form of my actual friend. Whereas now, we're very much existing on a digital highway. If I extend my hand thusly, I'll simply touch the camera lens in a manner that can only be described as obstructive for a video podcast. So that wouldn't be good, would it? Where are you now? You flew away from me at breakneck speed.
Yeah, I'm now in Queenstown. I managed to get here in one piece. We are going to touch on that very lightly in a few minutes. But I'm currently in my apartment in Queenstown. So I did, if you remember, couple of episodes ago, we spoke about the old scam of my apartment in Queenstown. Listen to Patreon if you want the full story. But I managed to get somewhere to live, albeit for an arm and a leg. But it's bloody cosy, mate.
Let's touch on our accommodation, because I'm currently recording from what can only be described as a literal corrugated iron shack on the wonderful island of Siargao. So what kind of accommodation have you conjured for yourself?
It doesn't look too dissimilar to an iron shack, but it's actually a converted section of my landlord's house. You go up some stairs on the outside of their house, and then we occupy the roof, effectively.
Do you find it vaguely melancholic that you live above your landlord and then have to interact with them on an almost daily basis?
It's quite difficult to walk past their place and not look right into the windows because they've got these kind of floor-to-ceiling windows. One thing I will say, and I do have to be very careful how loudly I say this, is that condensation is quite an issue in Queenstown. It's very cold outside and people heat their houses on the inside, which causes quite a lot of condensation. And I've had a couple of conversations with my landlord and it said, Adam, we have looked at your place a few times in passing and we notice you never open your windows. Can you please open your windows more often so that mold doesn't form and it doesn't cost us thousands of dollars?
It's suspicious condensation, isn't it? Because it always makes you wonder what's going on inside that building, which is so damn hot that it's causing this opaque condensation to form all over the windows.
Yeah, I can say from first-hand experience, if you don't open the windows and you don't address the mold that is forming, it will become a serious issue that affects the structure of the building. So I've got no doubt that they really, they are keen to make sure that we do open the windows and they're actually monitoring us. So I make sure it's the first thing I do when I get up every single morning is open all the windows to get a bloody draft in.
Well, I'm glad you're settling in so well. In my shack, I have not really interacted with my landlord much other than when a pipe behind the property burst. And she also comes and collects my linens once a week, which is very, very nice. Apart from that, I'm monitored only by a gecko inhabitant who I'm fairly certain lives in the roof because I find his feces, let's not shy from the subject. Geckos, of course, emit, a salmonella-ridden fecal matter that comes with its own bit of basically guano, a little white tip, which is the urine of the gecko. So I often find those littered around. There's a couple of cockroaches, but I will say I love this shack very much. The Wi-Fi exists on its own power generator, so it never goes out. The aircon's incredibly powerful, and it's just become a sort of home for me. I like it a lot. There's a cooking stove. There's tuna here, fresh tuna available. Siargao in the Philippines is where I'm at. That in Japan sells for a lot of money. Here is like a kilogram for 400 pesos for like $5. And it's the same damn fish. It's a yellowfin tuna. So I'm eating that almost every day. My mercury levels are through the roof. I can barely see, but for all the mercury I've been consuming, but I am having quite a beautiful time.
Is this where you tell me that we're branching out into maybe owning a fish farm somewhere in Siargao?
I'm a fishmonger now, yes. A Siargao-based fishmonger. I've been surfing an awful lot. I've been training a lot of jiu-jitsu. I've got my very own motorcycle. It's actually like a moped, not a real motorcycle. And I'm really settled in a way that makes me terribly afeared for the future of this podcast, because I'm becoming based here in Siargao. So at a certain point, I'm going to have to rip myself away from this gorgeous paradise, stop surfing, stop training, axe all my friends into the night, and just start traveling again for the sheer hunger of the tripological audience.
How long have you been there now? How long have you been based in that one place?
48 hours, and I love it. No, a month. I've been here a month, Adam. I've been here a month.
Yeah. I mean, that shows how little we've been speaking. It's good to do that from time to time, mate. It's good to have stability, predictability, get yourself a routine, fork out for a mobile phone contract and car insurance and all this sort of stuff. How's the moped riding going?
I've become, from someone who was considered a moped rider with a lot of hubris behind the steering wheel.
Tripology's worst driver.
Tripology's worst driver, someone who crashed a moped 60% of the time driving it. I've become, I hesitate to say, one of the world's best moped riders, but certainly I attract quite a lot of attention when I'm riding down the road so deftly. Always a helmet on, which a lot of people, in Siargao don't wear a helmet. I always do.
Even locals don't wear a helmet.
The locals aren't wearing a helmet, mate. You'll scarcely see one local who chooses to wear a helmet. But with me, you'll notice me in my bright blue helmet. And I even have a spare helmet that if I want to give anyone a lift, they can don the bright pink.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. What are the roads like around that way? I mean, what I'm imagining basically are these straight roads. Some of them have got turns in, meanders through, are they rice fields? Are they along the beach with palm trees and all this sort of stuff?
No, Siargao is very much a paradise, a surfing paradise. You've got Cloud9, one of the best surf spots in the world, and the roads meander around beautiful tropical locations. Every 500 meters, a new beach offering untold possibilities in the surfing department. So you can imagine me sort of blitzing around what can only be described as one of the most wonderful places on earth. It's a beautiful, beautiful time here. I want to start calling it home. I flew in here via propeller plane. That's the only way to get to Siargao. You can take a boat to Siargao from Cebu City, or you can fly from Manila or Cebu. And that plane got me thinking, my goodness, I hope Adam has a story about turbulence on a plane. And you've told me that you do.
Yeah, well, this is actually the flight that I took almost directly after leaving you. I made it to Brisbane in one piece, thank goodness. And then the flight, which I think from Brisbane to Queenstown is only about 3.5 hours. One big bugbear of mine, I do want to preface this story by saying this, is the lack of communication from the pilot or whoever's managing the plane and the passengers when there is turbulence. Because I don't know how you feel about this. You
want to hear him get on the tannoy more often?
Yeah, I think so. Just build a rapport with the passengers. If there's going to be a bit of turbulence, they normally announce it beforehand. They say, in the next few minutes, we are going to go through a turbulent area. Don't worry about it. The seatbelt signs are going to come on. Just stay seated. Everyone's going to be safe. No problem.
I've got to be honest, guys. I'm absolutely shitting myself.
If there are any pilots or people that work for airlines that listen to this show, could you please email us or contact us somehow and let us know what goes on behind the scenes? Because I don't know if pilots go through training.
I'm fairly sure they have some degree of training, yeah. I think normally they do a short course.
I mean, just in speaking to passengers about things like turbulence or any issue, because, pilots, you'd have to imagine when they're going through turbulence, and I have spoken to some pilots about this, one pilot that I used to play football with, he did tell me, if you're fine, the plane's fine. So, the next time you're scared on the plane, just remember, if you're sitting in your seat upright and you're still watching your film, the plane is probably fine. However, in this scenario, Alun, when I was on my way back to Queenstown, it was the last half an hour of the flight and I was bricking it because the turbulence was more than I'd ever experienced, actually more than I thought a plane could take without crashing.
Yeah, I don't like that your football pilot friend said that analogy about if you're fine, the plane's fine, because I think you stop being fine quite early on in a flight often because of the anxiety. So you would check in with yourself and be like, am I fine? No, I'm not. If I'm not fine, the plane's not fine. It doesn't work.
I've just burnt my finger on the food. No. I mean, I think he means if you're not dead. the plane's fine.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was announced in this case. It was announced. The pilot did say it's going to be very turbulent. Don't worry, it's perfectly normal. The winds are high. And also, when you go into Queenstown, I don't know if you've ever flown into Queenstown, but anyone listening to this who has will know that it is pretty hairy on the way in, because you come through sort of a mountain range and then the runway is very short. So as soon as they land, as soon as they get the wheels on the ground, they have to whack the air brakes on in order to get the plane to stop before you go off into the lake or whatever. But the way the plane was shaking around, I mean, people were screaming. I'm just going to go in at the top. People on the plane were screaming that there was so much shaking. Everyone was going side to side. One bloke ended up in someone else's chair. It was absolutely mental.
Did he? Do you think he was an opportunist?
We've been eyeing that chair up on the other side of the aisle all flight.
Yeah, he'd been waiting for the opportunity. I bet he couldn't believe his luck when the pilot said that there was about to be turbulence. He was like undoing his seatbelt, getting ready to leap.
I mean, it's crazy. The only thing that gets me through moments like that, and I do admit, I know you've alluded to it, I am a bit of a scaredy cat on flights, because I just sort of think, if anything goes wrong, you're dead. I mean, the brace position saves you from absolutely nothing. So
I don't think it's designed to. I think it's designed to sort of end it all quickly.
Oh, I have heard that people say it's to protect your teeth so that they can identify the body.
I think that's apocryphal, the whole dental record thing. But what I think it does is make damn well sure that your spine flies through your frontal cortex in a manner that stops any suffering.
Oh God. Fair enough. Well, honest if nothing else.
Don't quote me on it. But I think if you've braced and the plane's crashed, you're probably right in. If you've been on a plane crash doing the brace position and you feel like it saved you.
No, I would have said that in these moments where I'm feeling very anxious and scared, I look around, and as long as no one else is worried, I sort of think, okay, well, you're the only one who's reacting like this. This is largely happening in your head because no one else even looks bothered. Then every now and again, you see the air hostesses, or the people that are walking around the plane that work for the airline. Sometimes they sit down and they strap themselves in. And then I think, oh, fuck, okay, this is serious. And I mean, at this point in the flight, all the people working on the flight were strapped in, holding on for dear life. Everyone was there doing the same thing. And it made me not want to fly, really.
It's nerve-wracking, isn't it, when you see an air hostess crying and texting her family? Like, come on, love, hold it together. I've got a friend here who believes if he's fine, the plane's fine, and you're making him not fine.
Shouting up at the tannoy, tell the truth, you fucking prick. No, but there was an old lady that was a few rows behind, and I mean, she was probably in her 80s, and I turned around and she just looked at me and winked and said, "You'll be all right, mate."
You'll be all right, mate. And if there is turbulence, I'll probably end up in your chair. Mate, lovely to talk about turbulence, but I tell you what, there's been a hunger brewing in the minds of the audience, a hunger that I think only you can sate. And it's the kind of hunger that a well-timed, well-planned, well-thought-out food review would go some distance in preventing in the future. And that's the way that I like to announce your food item.
It's rice for breakfast. Rice for breakfast? You can't have rice for breakfast.
Wow, did those chopsticks really just pick up that egg yolk in a manner that can only be described as a brand new animation? I think it probably did. Wonderful, isn't it? Adam, talk me through your food item, baby.
Well, with the launch of the new artwork, the new structure of the show, the format, all these different items and things, I thought, what better way to kick off rice for breakfast with the backpacking food that is pretty iconic. I think if I said to you, one dish that maybe epitomizes what backpacking around Southeast Asia is like, what would you say?
A grilled cheese from 7-Eleven.
You bastard, you bastard. I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong, are you?
Unfortunately not. Unfortunately, I am correct.
Yeah.
I hate to be right, but often I am.
So in any case, something a bit more culturally specific, shall we say, is of course the hailed, the world-renowned, the celebrated pad thai. Are you a fan of the pad thai?
It's one of my favourites. Honestly, mate, if you get a good pad thai, a spicy, big bowl of pad thai, and you chunk into that thing with a pair of chopsticks, deftly handled, I think there's almost no greater joy on this planet.
Fair enough, fair enough. I mean, I do want to preface this by saying that the pad thai albeit a great dish, is probably not the best Thai food. Would you agree with that?
One of my favourite Thai foods, mate. I know that you're a big fan of banana leaf salad and fucking whatever else.
No, the papaya salad. The papaya salad, I think, is actually the most perfect dish. I think it might be the best dish on earth.
For me, I like a pad thai more than I like a salad. But that's just me, and this is your food item.
Well, the pad thai, a little bit of history for you. A lot of people think it is just quintessentially Thai food, which maybe in this day and age it is. However, it does actually have roots in Chinese cooking.
It doesn't.
It does. It does. Stir fry. A lot of good things come from China. They originate in East Asia. And due to immigration over the last 250 years, things like that, obviously there's been a transfer of culture, and some of that transfer has involved cooking methods. And Thais traditionally don't, or we're talking hundreds of years ago here, didn't typically cook with stir fries and woks, but pad thai actually translates to kind of Thai stir fry. Some
Thai in a pan.
Some people, get this right, you'll find this interesting. Some people think that the pad thai was actually created around sort of the 1930s by a prime minister who was in power at the time. And due to problems with the war, and there was floods around that sort of time, which resulted in a rice shortage, he was promoting people eat more noodles, hence creating a national dish, or the need for a national dish, and that's where the pad thai came in.
He was smart, wasn't he? Because I imagine there was scarcely a papaya salad in sight during that time, and so he diverted attention in another direction.
Yeah, it's important to sustain the people that worship you. But anyway, there are also other records, some reports that say actually the dish wasn't documented in either cookbooks or any sort of mention in books and things until the 1960s, so it might actually be far more recent. Now, I preface this by saying I do think that a great pad thai, you've said spicy being the operative word, is an amazing food. But I do fear that it is to Thai food what cheddar is to cheese. Do you know what I mean by that?
A great entry-level cheese that you can enjoy with friends, but if you want to be considered a cheese connoisseur and you bring cheddar to a cheese and wine night, people are going to look at you like you have some cognitive difficulties.
No, I mean, look, I like a pad thai just as much as the next guy, Alun. But I'm saying if you love a pad thai more than anything else in Thai food, you probably haven't had that much Thai food.
It doesn't help with cheddar either, does it? When you turn up and you go, no, but it's extra mature. It's extra mature cheddar. It's still Cathedral City though, isn't it? It's still cheddar.
Yeah, still bought it in the cheese aisle of a massive supermarket.
Yeah.
So
you did, didn't you? And you brought it to our classy cheese and wine night. And now Stacey's crying. So I hope you're happy.
I told you you're a cheese connoisseur and you're going to make me look stupid in front of everyone.
I've brought you to this party expecting a certain joie de vivre, a certain je ne sais quoi, a certain French style of class, and you've brought cheddar. Get out.
The reels just make themselves on this show. If you don't know what a pad thai is, it's basically a rice noodle dish. It involves things like palm sugar, tamarind. It's sweet, sour, there's some limes in there sometimes, or some citrus, peanuts, maybe some shrimp paste, something fermented, fish sauce, of course, hopefully some chili, and a protein that is often chicken, prawns, maybe tofu, something like that. Sound good to you so far?
Sounds like it to me.
Coriander? Do you like coriander? I've never remembered whether you like coriander or not.
Cilantro for our American listeners. I really resonate with cilantro because when I first went traveling and I was in Vietnam, someone went and got me a banh mi, and I'd never smelled anything like that before. I'd never tasted anything like that before. And I realized that novel experience was almost exclusively down to the cilantro within the banh mi, which I actually think I'd not been exposed to until the age of 21.
Right, fair enough. Well, yeah, it's not everyone's cup of tea, obviously. But do you have, I know I've put you on the spot here, mate, but I've got something quite surprising to tell you. My favourite pad thai ever wasn't in Thailand.
Are you going to ask me where I think your favourite pad thai ever was?
No. Well, you can guess for sure, but it's bloody close to Thailand. I mean, it makes sense.
Oh, well, that's interesting because my favourite pad thai ever was from New Zealand, where you are now. Can you believe it?
Really?
Yeah.
Well, if it's where I had a pad thai, then yeah, I can.
it was in Auckland, and there was this little woman who can only be described as Thai making pad Thai on the side of the street. Well, in a shop, but like it happened to be on a corner, and it was very close to where I used to live. And she would serve such enormous portions that during that time in my life, I would go to her and she would provide.
That goes a long way with you.
Yeah. I could sustain myself for 48 hours using only one purchase from her.
Wow. Okay, that's interesting that your favourite pad Thai is in Auckland, but maybe a different Thai shop to the one I had one in Auckland, which was actually very good. But my favourite pad Thai ever was actually in Laos.
That's incredible.
Yeah, I remember it's on the outskirts of Vang Vieng, and a tiny little shop, just sort of as you enter the town, it gets a little bit sort of bigger and more built up. I mean, it's still a bloody small town. But this was in 2015, and I was really blown away. I almost felt bad for admitting that my favourite pad Thai was in Laos. However, it does make sense because a lot of great food in Thailand actually comes from Isan, which is the region in the sort of east of Thailand, northeast. And that's where all these foodies and food bloggers are going now, is to this Isan region, which is less kind of sweet and aromatic and more sort of spicy and salty and fermented. But what I did want to do, mate, is tell you about the pad Thai I had last night. So obviously I put a lot of preparation into this. I thought, I want to make it fresh. I want to make it topical. I want to get it, in my mind the best I can. So I found a local Thai restaurant in Queenstown, and I went there to have a pad Thai.
How did it compare?
Well, I think expectations, again, are what thwarted me, because I'm going to risk sounding like a bit of a knob here, but I just went there on my own of an evening, 8:00 after work. And I spoke to the staff there and I said, look, all I want is the pad Thai prawns, and can you please make sure it's spicy, please? And she said, yeah, no problem. I said, is it close to the version, they're all Thai in there, by the way. I said, is it close to the version you're likely to find in Thailand? Because they do build themselves, they market themselves as this like authentic, traditional Thai food, and, all the chefs are Thai and whatever. So I was like, okay, seems pretty cool. I don't want to go too hard and drill too much, but I just said, can you just please, if it can be pretty close to what you get in Thailand, I'd really appreciate it. After having had 6 months of non-spicy white person Indian food, obviously in India. And this thing came, I'll put pictures on Instagram, of course. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. 6 enormous, fat, juicy prawns in a sort of semicircle, and then this steaming pile of noodles, really fragrant, absolutely lovely. And I took one bite. I took, you like my description? I took one bite. And I thought, okay, maybe the chili's underneath. Because we had a conversation, me and the woman. I said, I want it really, really hot. She was like, okay, you sure you can take very spicy? I said, yeah, I can take really spicy. Please make sure it's hot. She said, okay, I'll write Thai hot, Thai spicy. Perfect.
Could you bury the chili so that the first 5 or so spoonfuls seem quite mundane, and then I'm hit with a sort of intense palate destruction at the end?
Yeah, so, I think the dish typically is supposed to be mixed. So I thought, look, don't worry. Just keep eating. 3-4 mouthfuls later, still no spice. So I'm thinking, God, I don't know what's going on here. I mixed it again, another 2 or 3 mouthfuls, absolutely no spice at all. It was just sweet and a little bit sour. So I called the restaurant over, I called the waitress over, and I said, excuse me, but this isn't spicy at all. It's actually more sweet. And she said, oh, if you want, we sell fresh chili for $1. I was like, no, I'm not going to buy extra chili. Can you just make it spicy? And she was like, oh, if you want, we can give you chili flakes. They're free. And I was like, oh, this is awkward, because, I don't speak Thai and her English wasn't good enough. And she said, the only way you're going to make this spicy effectively is if you buy this extra chili sauce. So
would have been nice if she was upfront about that from the start, wouldn't it?
Well, this is one I want to get your thoughts on. What do you think went wrong? Why do you think it wasn't just not spicy enough for me? I mean, it actually wasn't spicy at all.
I think whatever went wrong in that interaction happened about 35 years ago, mate. No, I think, you can't have it all. If you want good Thai food, you have to go to Laos or Thailand. And I think you maybe went in with lofty expectations, but you presented as a white guy asking for authenticity. And in the modern age of traveling, that is a hard thing to come by. But I would like to say that was my favourite rice for breakfast of all time. It's almost as if there was an exorbitant amount of preparation gone into it, and I'm excited to see where the series goes in the future, Adam. So congratulations on a beautiful inaugural rice for breakfast in this, the new dawning of the tripological age. What I would like to do, mate, is hear from one of our listeners in this back end of the episode in my favourite item on the show, your favourite item on the show, the listener's favourite item of the show, where you can go to tripologypodcast.com/tales of a trip, and you can basically record a message of your greatest travel story, send it into us, we listen on the show. It's genius, really, and we want to go there now and listen to one of our listeners' best travel story. It's Tales of a Trip.
Hey up, lads, Ryan here. I'm a recent listener to the pod and I've been really enjoying it, so big up yourselves for that. My Tales of a Trip involves me when I was travelling through Thailand a few years ago, and as you'll know, every man and his dog, little girl to old grandma, they ride scooters and motorbikes to get around in that part of the world. And I didn't think that I was going to be getting on one of those because, I'm quite sensible, and my mum definitely does not know how to set up a GoFundMe page to get me back if I, break my legs. But in Chiang Mai, there was an excursion where they'd take you through the jungle. You'd visit an elephant sanctuary, like a legitimate, no riding and stuff, but through the jungle and through rivers and up hills, and it said no experience, beginners welcome. And so I went for that excursion, and it was one of the best experiences I've ever had in my life. It was incredible. But they do play fast and loose with the term beginner friendly. To be fair, health and safety in Thailand is a little bit lax. My bike had the speedometer didn't work, so I had absolutely no bloody idea how fast I was going any of the time. And my training on the bike was like 15 minutes in a side street in Chiang Mai. And I was a bit wobbly, but I was deemed fit enough to join for the scooter adventure. There's a couple of hairy moments where I sort of lost control going up a hill, and there's a cliff edge on one side, and I'm sort of wrestling with the bike. I got it stuck in the rivers that we were crossing through, and the bikers had to turn around and drag me out. I got stuck in some clay, and my team carried on, and I had to be rescued by a random Thai soldier, and he pulled my bike out for me, and probably due to embarrassment, I just got straight back on it and my hand on the throttle, and I went corralling into the distance, bouncing away, and ended up falling off again. But I actually remained, I got out of it relatively unscathed, and yeah, it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had. It's not the wildest story, but part of the reason why I wanted to bring it to you is because a lot of experiences nowadays, they're very easy to document. The temptation is so strong because we've got phones and cameras all the time, and I'm guilty of it as well. But being on the bike meant that I couldn't just be taking pictures on my phone all the time, even though I would have wanted to, because the landscape was just otherworldly. It was an incredible part of the world to be in. But being on the bike made me have to be very present and just take it in as it was happening to me, and I'm really grateful for that experience. Anyway, yeah, big fan of the pod. Cheers, lads.
Ryan, you beautiful tripological listener, you've managed coincidentally to touch on key themes of the show, being Thailand and motorcycle crashes. Very deftly delivered. That was cool, man, because I firstly, he's a man after my own heart, because I've never met anyone who, like me, has crashed a motorcycle and then, through sheer embarrassment and not wanting to impinge on anyone else, got straight back on and subsequently had another crash. So that's I empathize and sympathize with you there. I also like what you said about being present in the moment, because I've had this same exact experience recently with all the surfing. Because when you go surfing, you're completely forced by nature of everything would get so terribly wet to leave the technology at home. You leave the phone, leave any thoughts really that exist outside of the waves at home. You just go out on this surfboard and you're just at one with nature. So I think that's really cool. And Ryan experienced that through having his hands literally occupied trying to stay alive on a scooter.
Yeah, thanks ever so much, Ryan, for sending that in. It's a great story and also sends a beautiful message, because I think we live in this day and age now where it is becoming increasingly more difficult to be present. You know, for the first time ever, we're seeing that people are traveling just for the purposes of creating content, just for the purposes of making videos about it. So it's not only great that Ryan experienced the, driving around a Thailand on a scooter in that way, but also afterwards reflected on it and said, actually, that was a rare time when I was totally present and I wasn't thinking about anything else other than what I was doing in that moment. It's funny you mentioned surfing, because that was going to be my first question to you, was, have you found that when you're on a surfboard now, is that all you're thinking about, all you're consumed by, is just that one moment you're in?
I'm finding myself searching for those moments more in life, really, whether it's through jiu-jitsu or through surfing. I'm looking to accumulate skills. Well, that was cool as well that Ryan was like, I didn't really feel comfortable on a bike, but I did it anyway. Whether that's well advised or not to do things that can result in injury that you're not that good at least you are trying something and you've got the potential to get better. I found myself pursuing those skill accumulation things, but also things where I'm forced to leave everything that I'm preoccupied with in my day-to-day at home. Like training does that because my phone doesn't fit in my jiu-jitsu shorts, and the surfboard does that because there's no plug sockets out there. And I think that really is of tremendous value. And I encourage, everyone to find hobbies where the disconnection is part of the hobby.
Yeah. Also, as you get older and things, not only do you become more sort of risk averse and maybe aware of the dangers, but maybe you just are thrust into fewer opportunities or experiences to learn something new. And I love the fact that you're doing picking up your surfing again. And I love the fact that Ryan just pushed ahead, and even though he maybe couldn't ride a scooter or wasn't confident on one, just learned anyway. Because I am someone who learned to ride a motorbike in Vietnam, in the north of Vietnam.
And you've got that skill forever then, haven't you? It's like riding a bike. You'll always be able to ride it.
You would think so, but I did try and ride a scooter again for the first time in years when I was in Goa last year. And I don't know, that's twigged a memory actually. Maybe I'll tell that in the Patreon, but it didn't go well at all.
Well, we will hear about that. I've also got a story about a terribly rabid little dog. So, we go over to Patreon, shall we? That's patreon.com/Tripology Podcast if you want to keep listening to wonderful bonus content after the show. If you have heard Ryan tell that beautiful story and you think, I've got a story that I would like to share, you go to tripologypodcast.com/Tales of a Trip. There's also a contact form if you want to ask us a question. And there's YouTube, Instagram, lots of ways that you can reach out, connect with us. It's Tripology Podcast on everything. Thank you, Ryan, for sharing your story. Thank you, Tripological audience, for listening. Thank you, Adam, for a wonderful rice for breakfast. And thanks to you, that's right, you, watching this show. I love you very, very much, and we'll see you after in the Patreon section. We'll see you there.
See you there. Bye.